Hey y'all, welcome back to Digital Products Consulting. I'm Daytonia. Today, Elise Brianna Martinez and I are talking soft skills training and the user experience when it comes to instructional design. Like and subscribe, and comment below. What's your best practice for soft skills training when it comes to the user experience? Thank you, and we'll see you later. Awesome. Welcome back to Digital Products Consulting. I'm Daytonia, and we have our special guest again, Elise Brianna Martinez. Hi.
Hey, girl.
Hey, tell me all of the good news. Tell me everything that you've been up to.
So, with all the applications, over 120 applications, I finally got my one yes. I start as a content developer and elements administrator with a global company starting April 1st. And for sure, it's not a joke. Yeah.
I am so happy for you, Elise. I am so excited. Oh, what
Thank
kind
you.
of work will you be working on? What kind of projects? Did they let you know?
So it will be in the training branch, training with leadership. So I'll be picking up projects that are in various stages of their design development and starting some from you and also looking at data and seeing what we can improve and grow from there. So, I'm so stoked to get started. I'm just excited because finally, feels so good.
Absolutely. Take a breath. You know, you have a few weeks before that start date. That must be so exciting.
Yes, I am officially a fully transitioned teacher. So it's possible. Yes.
It is possible. Look at you, instructional designer. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I
I'm
did
so happy.
want to talk today. Let's talk about it. So, as you know, I've been exclusively training on SaaS products, software as a service, for probably like 10 years. And I've had teams that I have managed that create soft skills training, but I'm a little rusty with soft skills training, especially when it comes to the user experience. So with SaaS training, you know, you have to take them through a process, right? You have your objectives, but you definitely are taking people through a process that they have to complete from A to B using the software. So with soft skills training, it's typically the same thing, but the process is the learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for the user experience, I was wondering, number one, let's talk graded or ungraded knowledge checks.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
It depends on what you are intending on using that data for. So if you were to, no, actually, let me backtrack. Well, no, it does depend on what you're going to use that data for. So you introduce that new content, right? And then you do a knowledge check. It really wouldn't make sense to, oh, hold on, excuse me. It's my series of alarms that I have to remind myself to eat or take a break. So anyway, as you're teaching someone something, you want to check first of all, okay, do they understand my content? I wouldn't grade that one initially. And in fact, when I was in the classroom, it was a diagnostic test that I was just doing by eye. Like, are my kids marching on the beat? Are they playing that rhythm? Then after a few more knowledge checks, depending on how long your course or content is, then I would eventually do that graded portion. And typically it's done at the end where you are checking that knowledge. Now, depending if it's self-paced and if it's through scenario branching, if they don't make it past that initial check, I would have it reworked to where they go back and they learn it again. They have a chance to practice that skill, because that would give you data to see if, oh, maybe I didn't explain something clear enough, or maybe I didn't give them the opportunity to apply this learning so they can move on. So to answer your question, the first skill checks I would not grade, but the final one for sure, yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. After speaking with my Chat GPT Pro, after I messaged you on LinkedIn, basically it said the same thing, but I was like, well, let me ask my human, experts.
Totally understand that.
said the same thing, that the ungraded knowledge checks are low to no pressure, and
Mm-hmm.
with behavioral and mental health learners, um, that's what you want, especially when it comes to, and this is with SAS training as well as soft skills training, any training, you want engagement. So it's a higher engagement when the knowledge checks aren't graded. And I was like, okay, makes sense, because again, low stakes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And these learners are mainly volunteering, taking it on their own, even though they will get CCUs. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they're
No,
awesome.
no, that makes sense.
Great, great. I'm looking forward to that. So, also with soft skills training on the user experience, right? Let's talk transitions from, let's say, one style of presenting the content. So, captivate, right? You
Okay.
have a video and a slide, and then the next one, you just have text, right? So, as far as transitions from slide to slide goes, in soft skills training, would you need, or have you seen the need to give direction? And I'll clarify. So with SAS training, you'll say, again, it's the process that we're completing. So after you select this, do this, type in that, and then click next,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
you're telling them step by step by step. I don't know if I need to be that granular.
Oh, that's what you're asking me.
Yes.
Yes, you do.
Oh,
And especially the wordage, because we don't know what kind of device they're using. The wordage from click should be changed to select. When, as I was venturing on my transition journey, a lot of other mentors that I came across, and I'm so grateful to them. That was something that they all pointed out with my first round of getting feedback on various things that I was creating. It's ensuring that whatever you're putting out there is crystal clear. If I want them to select a button or do a certain action, I have to make sure that it's there visually and or sound like audio, um, and make it blatantly obvious. Is that button highlighted when the cursor goes through it? Is there an arrow pointing at it? And it should say like select here to continue. Being that descriptive helps all who are taking this to benefit and learn and go through the course.
absolutely. Okay. And my thinking was the same. However, again, we talk about user experience and not just what you're doing with the training, right? With the e-learning, it's also your experience as a learner. So my first thought was, do I need to hold behavioral and mental health learners or any learners' hands going through this content? And of course it was yes, but then it was like, I don't know if you want to offend people by holding their hand, you know? So
Like by giving too much clarification on
yeah,
like you should click. I understand your thought process, but we also have to understand that we don't know how the other person is interpreting what I'm giving them. And I might think like, oh, well, duh, there's a button right there. They should know to click it. But sometimes maybe they can't, there's color. Maybe they can't see that a contrast. So you have to, first of all, make sure that you're meeting those accessibility guidelines. And there's a variety of resources out here on the internet where you can see if not only does the font size help, but do the colors help? There's enough contrast for someone to be able to see those things. So while we may think that we're holding their hand or we're giving too much, we're probably doing just enough. And any opportunity for you to add text to images, or even, I think you can even do it to buttons depending on what kind of program you're using, where like if you hover over it, an icon or a text should pop up. Like for example, on this Google call that we're having together, if I run my mouse over the red button to hang up, it says leave call. The three dots say more options. Like we have those things there so that it's clear and it's understandable what all those icons mean. Just because we understand what the icons mean, and maybe we might even have a key somewhere for them to look at, we also want to make it as engrossed and not the word contained, but we want to make it accessible enough for anybody to use. Because as someone who, you know, we're all learners, and I'm taking a UX UI course on the side right now just to gain those extra skills. It's fascinating when you realize that there's so many everyday items or things that we look at and we don't take a second thought. But until you're someone that doesn't have those experiences and you have different ones, having that extra cue or that extra pop out really, really helps. So yes, and also to better answer your question, you can have the first round of people who take your course. Maybe it's a small control group and you ask them those questions. That way you are learning from your personnel learner base and you take that feedback and you make it better. You keep it the same, or, you move on from there.
Absolutely. Are you taking the Google UX
Mm.
UI? Oh, me too. I'm on
Oh,
lesson 3. I'm telling you,
girl,
like,
me too. I'm in the same one.
come on. Great minds. It's always great minds. Okay. It's like,
We gotta learn. We gotta keep learning.
Gotta get in the user experience, user interface, because again, it's e-learning. It's what they are here for. And as a learner, I want to have the best experience. And then as a creator, I want to create the best experience. But
Yes.
I also know I'm a little biased while creating, because I already know what's going to happen.
Yes.
Right.
I
I already
understand.
know it's going to happen. So it's like getting everyone there rather than to the end. It's all about that journey to get them.
Yes.
So
Because you
it's
could
like,
have the coolest information there, the prettiest slides, but if they don't know how to get that, it's all for nothing.
yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I like to do too, whenever I'm in anything, whether it's a website or an app, I'm looking at it from that perspective, like, I don't like how this flows. How would I change it? And I keep those mental thoughts to myself so that when I'm designing something, I know not to make certain mistakes. Like, oh, that's a usability situation. Or like, I can barely tell the difference between what's the button and what's the screen because the color contrast isn't that strong. So I'm constantly it's kind of like being a teacher where your mind never shuts off and you're like, oh, I can do that with my kids. I can rewrite that music as a little ditty for my kids to play on instruments. Now it's like, if I could redesign that website or that screen or that course or whatever, I would do X, Y, and Z.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm done creating the course template that we're going to use for Credibles Learning. The first is going to be a 26-week interventionist course where people can learn all about interventions, how to conduct them, what to do during, before, after, those kinds of things. And it's, again, a half a year, so it's pretty intense. And I told them, I said, well, I'm done with the course template. I created it in Captivate 2019.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just say, okay. And then and then I told him, I said, hey, I have to step away for the day. I am going to just, regroup. I'm a little bit too close to it, right? So I'm going to step away and then come back to it over the weekend, tweak it, and then we can discuss it on Monday. And he was like, perfect. So those are the kinds of things that being an instructional designer, I have to be aware of when creating. It's like being too close to the content, right? And microscopically looking at every detail, every button, every action, every transition. And it's like, it can be so overwhelming. And again, I already know what's going to happen at the end. I don't want to compromise the journey. So do you find yourself having to step away and then go back with fresh eyes on the same project?
I make myself step away. I understand exactly what you're talking about. Like with my volunteer position as an ID with coaching season, we were like in the weeds with one particular course. And it gets to a point where it's like, look, we can refine, we can, correct all the, whatever lines or as much as we want. We're not going to really know how this thing works, if it works how we intended until we actually get it in front of people. So, like, you have to eventually just kind of accept that, okay, you know what? Let me see what I have here. If there's time to make tweaks to it, I'll look at it in about an hour. Go outside, get some fresh air. Depending on what your weather is. Right now, it's windy city in El Paso, so it's not even pretty outside. Or pick up a book, or watch a quick video on something related, or just to get your mind off it. But yes, I highly agree. Looking at something again with fresh eyes can help you see things that you didn't realize were or weren't there. I mean, like being an well, I shouldn't say ex. I just haven't touched my trumpet in a few years. But being a musician who's formerly studied music for my entire school life, whenever I was getting frustrated with a certain lick or a certain measure within a piece that I was practicing, if it just kept getting worse and worse and it wasn't getting better, I was like, okay, it's time to put it away and come back to it later. And just like that, and just like how when you're creating courses, you have a fresher mind, fresher eyes, you're breathing a little bit calmer. And then, yes, you'll spot all those things that you want to fix. So taking a break is a must.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for the update and for always nerding out with me. Again, this is Daytonia with Digital Products Consulting and Miss Elise Brianna Martinez, content creator and LMS administrator. We will
Yes.
set up a company after the 1st. So thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next one. Let me stop the recording.
Bye.